Alright guys, we're doing a bait demo again, and today I'm going to show you guys my flap bait. It's a very simple little bait that we used to use many years ago, and it's one of those baits that I've forgotten about, which I should use more often, and it works very well for especially your shark species and your non-edible fish. I would suggest that you use this flap bait on your tougher types of baits, mullet, shad, or any like a little blacktail you catch in your do, because of the way the bait is, that if you use a soft bait it'll fall apart when you cast it. So it's a very simple bait to make, and the nice thing about this bait is it's actually got 3 different stages. So it's one bait that you can use in 3 different ways, and I'll show you exactly how that works. Alright, so let's start cutting this bait. As I said, it's whatever you want to use. It's something tough. I'm using this mackerel as an example. What's quite important about this bait is that your flap has got to be as long as the front section of your bait. So you got to cut your bait. So that's going to be my front section of the bait. So I want to do my back section sort of similar length. So that is my back section, and I'm just going to take my knife, cut onto the spine, and stop there, and do exactly the same on the other side. Slide the knife into it, onto the spine, and up to that point. And what I'm going to do now is pull the spine out, leave the guts as much as possible like that. And what's very important here is to just make a little cut there where you're going to fold the bait over on either side so it doesn't break. Right, so this is our first stage of our 3-stage flap bait, and because it's going to be a tough piece of fish you're working with, I always like to just take my knife and just cut that sort of flap a bit to get the flavors to come out and to soften it up, so there's a bit of movement of the bait in the water when I use it. So you can imagine this is going to be a tough thing. You can chop it a bit and loosen it up. So grab our hook and just put our hook through the lip of the bait. And once again, if you feel like adding a dingle to this, you can add a dingle. For the demonstration purposes, I'm not going to add a dingle to this. Right, so this is our first stage of the bait. So as it is here, you can cast it just like this. So you can have these little flaps in the water that's going to move around, all the flavor coming out. So I wouldn't cast this bait in an area where you need a very long cast, because obviously it's going to open up in the air and it's going to fly all over the show. So if you're fishing off a deep point, off the rocks, or you need to cast quite close and the fish are close, this bait works very well. So that is like a double flap, a lot of movement, a lot of flavor. Alright, so the second stage, or the second type of bait you can make out of the same bait, is to actually take one flap and fold it over the head like that. So you've got the one flap loose, which is going to vibrate in the water, and the other one over the head, which we then cotton on and prepare the bait like that. Alright, so we just pick up that bait like that and cotton that flap onto the head. You can also take a chalk hammer and smack that bit a bit of that flap a bit to sort of just smoothen it out and get some flavor out of it. Alright, so that is the second stage of the bait. So you can cast it as is. You've got the shiny side here with a loose flap that's going to vibrate in the water and attract some attention, and on this side you've got all the flavor and the smell coming out of the bait. Alright, so that is stage 2 of our 3-stage bait, and then obviously the third stage is taking the other flap and also folding that over and tying that onto the bait. Alright, so you just grab the guts and that flap and everything and cotton that on. Now this is actually a very, very easy bait to make, and often when we fish competition you spend hours building baits, or not hours, you're in a rush, the fish are biting and you want to build too much of a nice bait, and this is one of those quick and easy baits to make. Cut it open, make the flaps, fold it over, and there you've got a smelly bait with all the guts, all the flavor, and you can put your dingle through, clip it on and cast it far. It's nice and aerodynamic. Right, and that's our third stage of our 3-stage bait. Nice and compact, a lot of flavor, a lot of smell. Okay, so yeah, very simple little bait for the guys that are new in fishing and trying to catch some non-eds. This is a very nice bait to do, very simple, nothing to it, and it works very well.